Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles. I am delighted to be joined by two special people. I wish we were here in person. Stephen Keith Mills, who was a writer, director, and star in the film, alongside with his co-star lead Alejandra, with the great movie that I'm in love with, and it's called Love Is Not Love. But for those that haven't seen it, let's take a look at a clip.
But then, Sam Peckinpah takes over the camera, which means I can see that on a very below the civilized level, you begin to like it. You intuit the bargain. You see where the power is. All this primitive male energy turning all of its takedown attention towards you. I've been exposed and eliminated as a coward in your eyes, and I understand. While I'm bleeding out and screaming in silence and they laugh at me, that you're just using your femininity to survive. That's great, because I can't use my masculinity to survive.
Well, you're lovely people. You made a film about love and what is not love, and I'm delighted to have you all here. Thank you for being here. Thank you for making this very special film. And I'll start with you, Stephen, for those that haven't seen it. Tell us a brief synopsis of your film.
Well, the film is about a conflict between the erotic and the domestic. And it's dramatized through the main character, who I play, who has an affair with an escort, which turns into a love affair, which could possibly be a relationship. And on the other side, he has a long relationship with his wife. 30 years, and even though they have very special connections, the satisfaction quotient is wide. So I think it really is, it's not a coming of age story, it's a coming of heart story. I mean, the heart is the star, and it's on a mission, it's on a quest, it's searching for its partner. And so we follow that same search and hope that we find ours.
It's one of those films that I'm going to watch again and again and find new things. You know, it's kind of looking at a painting several times. I just love, there's so many sequences in there that I thoroughly enjoyed. Everything from the wonderful cinematography and design and the production design and the score and everything. I mean, it was truly marvelous. I'm going to just pass to Alejandra. What a fantastic role that you had being part of this film. How did you come about being part of this project?
Well, I had met Stephen about 12 years ago. We met at he sent out an audition notice on LA Casting, who probably a lot of people know, for a short called Liminal. It was a very interesting short, very adventurous. It was a very risky short in a lot of ways. And I went and I auditioned and I got the part. It was originally for a man and a woman. And it was very interesting. He decided to use two women at the end. So it was myself and Tanya Cornelisi, who plays the narrator in Love Is Not Love. And so that's where our friendship began. We remained friends for like about, all this time. And then he one day came up with this script and told me about it. And it, went through a lot of stages and transformation and stuff. And then at the end, he wanted to make this feature. And I was in shock and very excited when I saw, as you say, the kind of role that it was, because it's not something that I've played before at all.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't normally jump in with this question right now, but Stephen, I can't help but notice the insanely brilliant costumes on these mannequins behind you that were featured. Please tell us a little bit about that story, because they are gorgeous and they were so distinctive in the film.
Well, it's funny because let me just give you a little backstory. This is a studio at the brewery. Are you familiar with the brewery?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
So it's a artist's live work space. My son, who's 30 now, is a painter, and he was in the studio. He was about to go to Berlin. And so I took it over. I looked at it and I said, this could be a sound stage. I mean, it's not soundproof, but we could shoot something here. Down the hall was Michael Philpott, the costumer, and across the hall was a set designer who helped with Joel's cocoon. So it's like everything was here. It was meant to be.
That's amazing.
And I loved Michael's costumes, and I loved Michael because he was so thorough and so patient. You know, I mean, actors always have maybe a little issue with the costumes, or maybe the director is not being clear or not speaking in a language he understands. So he's able to sort of filter all that through his own brilliance and come up with costume after costume after costume. I mean, Alejandra has about 7 changes. Joel, the narrator, has as many. Paula, my wife, has changes, but he was able to, his theme as a designer is to watch the actors transform. That is the thing that pleases him the most. And it's true, when Alejandra put on that very first dress, it's kind of like a tube dress, when she meets Frank at the door for the first time, and Alejandra put that on, and she immediately changed physical behavior, a whole new energy came into her, and it was like, wow, there's Rada. You know, it was, so the costumes are magic. And I wanted to pay a tribute to that magic. So I was looking around for mannequins, and I found these, and I started putting the costumes on them. And I have about 26 mannequins. There are only 8 that are dressed right now. The rest are in boxes, restlessly sleeping, waiting to get out and get assembled and get dressed. That's what a mannequin wants most. They want to get dressed.
Yes, yes. Well, I mean, what a delight and dream to see that in the backgrounding, because you know, I think one of the really things that I loved about your film, I'm going to ask you about this, Alejandra, too, is that you just did great honor to all the art forms that exist in this film. You know, everything from how it looked to how it sat, the sound, to everything. You did true honor to all the areas that I also feel people don't really understand quite the work that goes in to making that as part of the film. Clearly that's something important to you because you've got great people involved. But was that something that, again, you had it in black and white, you know, which again, wasn't something you decided to do at the beginning, was it?
No, it came about as everything did. It's sort of, we started with the script, with the vision, with the cast, and then the rest is discovery. I mean, you go through this long, dark tunnel called I don't know. And you have to turn that into part of the creative process. You can't let that stop you. It has to actually inspire you. So you're in the dark most of the time. And if you are with people, this is key. To get people that get your project, that want to be in it, that want to do something to help it, and to be a part of it, then that is the key. Then you'll find it. Then you'll do wonderful things. I think of working with the composer. And he lives in New York. I went to New York, upstate, up the Hudson River. He had done a couple of things with me before, but I'd never seen him compose in his basement NASA studio, you know? And it was really something to watch the sort of musical muse in action. But anyway, it's important.
Just getting carried away with the art form, absolutely. And I love it so much. And listen, Alejandra, the moment your character just emerged onto our screens, I was just completely taken by just the depth of your character, not just what her persona was, but almost I was so curious about her backstory that was kind of gently revealed to us in a way. What was it like taking on a role like this? I mean, there's just such a wondrous journey, and then it's so stylistic. Like, how was that experience for you, and how much of it did you kind of know prior to the scene, and what maybe you discovered along the way as well?
Yeah, well, definitely not something that I've played before.
Yeah.
I normally play, yeah, like the character roles or the friend or the nice or not nice and weird person. So this was definitely the love interest. She was a very secure, apparently, person who knew what she was doing, who was in control, who um, is an escort. So all of her is about appearance and how she has this, what you were talking about in the beginning, the first scene. It was a really complicated scene for me. I remember I almost talked, I mean, I was talking about it with Steve and told him, like, I feel like it's staged, like she's so fake, like this is not, like, how do we make it work? And then I actually saw it in the film and how it went from there to, you know, everything else that happens in their love relationship. It made total sense. And he held my hand and said, it is staged. This is what she's doing, right? This is what she does with men. This is an act, and this is the way she was luring him in, like she lures in, you know, her other clients. And it's hard for an actor kind of to see that it was the character who was being uncomfortable and trying to feel comfortable, and all this uncomfortableness comes out and you're like, but that's me, but it's not, but it's the character, and why is she feeling that way, and kind of feeling at ease with that transition. uh I feel the most comfortable with the later scenes where she reveals who she is, and it's more, I guess she connects more with me and this vulnerability, which I don't have any issue with connecting with, right? But it's the kind of this royalness and appearance that is not really me, that
Yeah.
was I had to work on, right? To be able to portray. But it was
Yeah.
interesting. It was discovering. It was definitely, I would say, in each single part. I think when we found the reality of the vulnerability, I was able to see this other part and why she was protecting herself so much in the beginning. So it kind of
Yeah.
went hand in hand. Yeah.
Well, I mean, listen, I love the revealing, but you just had a great persona on them, and I've got a husband, and I fell for you watching you on camera. You know, I mean, goodness me, I really did. I thought you were just amazing. But I was loved how your true honest self, the same way Steven's character's true honest self was being revealed. You know, through the film. I think there's something that it was heartbreaking to watch, Steven, because you've had this 30-year relationship with your wife in the film, and just how difficult, maybe over a course of years, what you've been through together, conversations, intimacy, all of those things. It was painful and wonderful to watch, because I feel like it's such hard conversation when you've been together for a very long time, and you don't really hate each other the way the arguments come across. And I just thought it was so magical to see that on screen, and kind of respect that, and how we fall apart and come together again, all those things. Was that kind of something that you wanted to put on camera that we don't really see as much, and as we should?
Well, yeah, I always think people don't know how to fight
Yeah.
in a relationship. I mean, they think that, okay, if we have a fight, then it's over, but it's not. I mean, like Paula and Frank have a fight, he throws pistachio nuts at her and screams
Yeah.
at her, and then they end up watching a hockey game,
Yeah.
so they do come together. I mean, it's the sort of elasticity of a
Mhm.
relationship,
Mhm.
and I did want to put that on. Uh, but funny, the original title of this was called A Beautiful Dream. And there is a section at the end where Frank tells this dream of bioterrorism and, how he and Paula were both in their last stages of life, and that he says to her, "I'm glad it was you that I married." And she says, "That's a beautiful dream." In the face of an enormous nightmare, everybody dying, she says, "That's a beautiful dream," because he does admit that to her. And I thought, okay, and the initial thought was to get them back together at the end. But looking at the dailies and absorbing the work that we had done, it was too sad. It was too heavy.
Yeah.
And I didn't think the audience would buy it if I put them back together. So we had to figure out another whole ending right in the middle of it, because I mean, the script was one way and I was saying, no, we can't go there because we're here now.
Yeah.
So that's where the sort of marriage Gaelic scene came in with the construction workers. I had to write something to bring a positive note, because Paula and I were not going to be that positive note.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's so many elements in there, just the kind of, you know, film noir, the sort of the little journey back in time, the nostalgic, you know, I love the silent film elements in there as well. And, you know, I even love just the high idea of like the feeling of like being on trial when you're arguing, you know, like that whole element that you put in there is so, because we put ourselves and our partners on trial, you know, goodness me, I've done it. And it's like, why do we do this to ourselves? What are we doing? You know, it's crazy. Life is short enough as it is. And I think there was just, you know, I really do love the intricacy and the depth that you go into moments. Because I watched your film, and I want to know from you, Alejandra, if you felt this as an actor too. But there was so much depth in moments that I need to appreciate more. And I felt that. And even just the way you both were playing with the dog, like that stands out for me. It was so special. How was that for you? Because you weren't just cutting from scene to scene really quickly. You were just in a moment. And how is that for you, Alejandra, being an actress and playing that part?
Well, it's wonderful to be able to really submerge yourself into something that, I don't know, it's just very present. We talked about this, how we were able to, which is not common at all in film, to be able to rehearse beforehand. We rehearsed because Steve was the star and the director. We needed to have everything set up very carefully before we started shooting. So we did have an amazing, I don't know, 2 weeks at least, maybe more, right, of rehearsing.
Yeah, it was more.
It was more. It was, and it was first just Steve and I working on the scenes. And then Steve Faidlin, the director of photography, came in. And it was really wonderful when you say the depth. Steve always tells this story, and I love it, that when Steve Faidlin, the director of photography, came in, and, you know, he was trying to see where he would fit the camera in and whatever. He told us he felt so uncomfortable because Steve and I were so together and so connected in these really intimate scenes that he was like, where am I supposed to fit in, right? There's no place for a third person, the camera, right? And we were already so connected. And Steve was like, no, you get in there. Like, you know, that's where he wanted us. And so it was so wonderful to be able to have that experience with the camera so close to us before we actually started shooting. Because by the time we were on set, with all the pressure that brings, right? All these people and things that have to happen, we were already set. We already knew where the camera was going to be. I mean, we were playing the scene, and there were a lot of subtleties and new things that came up, which is what makes the scene alive. But the technical part was already together. So it was really wonderful.
It was an incredible cinematic experience. I mean, it's the best black and white film I've seen since Roma. And, you know, it really is a tremendous vision. And I just want to get inside your head, Stephen. Your imagination is wild and brilliant. Wonderful. Really. And you know what was so special is that as uncomfortable as it was at certain times to watch these scenes because people were speaking out their truth, it was so special to see you in your dialogue, in what you wrote, things that we should say and things that we should do and things that we should appreciate. Was that kind of something that you wanted as part of an element to it? Because I really felt there's so many moments in life and in film where we don't do that. We may think it, we won't say it.
Well, that's the point of writing, isn't it? I mean, or any kind of creative endeavor is to bring the shadow into into the light, you know, so people can see it and either identify with it or deny it. But I think as a writer, if somebody once said, if you don't leave blood on the floor, you've failed. And they didn't mean literal blood on the floor. They meant if you don't make your characters pay the price, then the audience isn't going to be interested.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. I love that. Oh my goodness. We're just, you know, like watching your film, we should have all sat here with a juicy glass of wine, because that's exactly what you want to do. A great glass of wine or champagne is the only way you can watch Love Is Not Love. And just to anyone, and that's what I'll do when I'll go and watch it again. I could talk to you for hours. I just want to know, to close this up, what is next for you both?
Ali?
Should I start? Okay. Well, I am, through the pandemic, what I'm doing is doing voiceovers. That's what I mean, besides acting, I love doing voiceovers. I have a home studio and I work here a lot, basically in Spanish, which is my first language, but I do stuff in English and Spanish. And then I'm in the process of writing a script with a Mexican co-writer, a producer, director, friend of mine. It's about motherhood and relationships and the right of choice, women's reproductive rights. It's something that I've been wanting to talk about a lot. I'm a mother myself, so I feel like it hasn't been portrayed the way I believe it should be. Kids are always so well behaved on screen, and that's not how it goes in my house. So I want to talk about that intensity and how it is to be a mother, a professional, and be the owner of your own body, and how that, it's I think it's an amazing script, and I hope to be producing it soon.
Oh, I can't wait for this. Like, a family that's grown a lot of women, you know, and special to my heart. I can't wait to see this film. So it's very exciting. I love your artistic vision, Alejandra. So, you know, I can't wait for that. And please share it with us.
Yes.
Very exciting. And for you, Stephen, where are you taking us next? Where are we going?
Okay. You're going to be shut in. You know, nobody gets out. A family is under political quarantine, and in the course of which 2 inspectors show up. Nobody knows how they got in, nobody let them in, and at once everybody starts to feel guilty. They don't know who's watching them or who said what about them. So it's a very paranoia switch that happens, and everybody betrays everybody else.
Yeah.
You talk about saying things that we never do but always think. They do say everything, and it's a real tear up. You know, I mean, how families can absolutely go to the bone. And they're great characters too. I mean, there's the sort of matriarch, there's the sort of middle-aged guy who's a failure, who's got a wife that he no longer loves, and he's had an affair with the wife's sister. I mean, it's just awful, you know.
I can't wait. No, it's great. I mean, listen, I mean, you've got so much depth, you know, in the way you portray stories. So, I mean, this is just going to be a tremendous excitement. Well, listen, I adore you both. You know that. Please just keep sending your creations our way. Keep us, you know, creatively, you know, inspired as well, and invigorated. And so, just thank you for bringing Love Is Not Love. I love watching a film that I know I'm going to watch again and learn something new as I watch it. So much depth in there. So, but brilliant performance, you know, Alejandra and Stephen, you did a fantastic job leading the way. And I'm so excited to see your next project. So thank you both very much.
Well, Danny, thank you. We've had a great time talking with you, and it's great to think that we'll be back. So
yeah, it's happening. We're putting out there to
exactly. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.